I'm Jasmine Moradi, and you are listening to the Power of Audio, Science, and AI. My guest today is my new friend, Margareta Andersson, a passionate woman that thrives on challenges, creativity, and positivity. Just like me, she has a true entrepreneurial spirit and loves everything with sound. It was her passion for sound that landed her in the sound architecture industry. In 1996, Margareta started the sound production company Pretty Production, producing sound within the fields of advertisement, corporate films, and sound branding. In 2009, the production company became an integrated brand in the multi-award winning agency Lexter Sound Design, also started by Margareta. The agency has since November 2020 been acquired by Efterklang, a part of Afry. Lexter was established around the challenges of working with sound and scent design in the public environment. Now, more than a decade later, she and her team has successfully been working with sound concepts and has made installations for everything from shopping malls to banks and offices. Lexter has also created software such as Lexter Sound System Twang. Margareta has an advertising communication degree from Berg School of Communication, and on top of that, she has also studied behavioral and positive psychology and has a coach certification from Academia Coachstjärnan, where she's coached people within the field of business, entrepreneurship, and leadership. Margareta is now the section manager of Efterklang, a Scandinavian company with dedicated experts in engineering, architectural, music, and academia. In this episode, Margareta and I are going to discuss the ins and outs of sound architecture. With that, Margareta, I welcome you and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Congratulations to being acquired. How does it feel so far and how is it going?
It feels wonderful. It is a little bit hectic at the moment, but we're really happy. We are now integrated to something that is bigger. We have over 120 new colleagues in Efterklang, which is amazing. So now we can offer the whole world really good quality sound environment. So we are happy, really, really happy, exciting.
I'm so glad to hear this. And I've read that you love everything about sound. So now I'm interested to know when and what was your earliest memory of music and what is it about sound that fascinates you so much?
That is, in one way, a difficult question because when I was really young, I was more passionate to drawing. But I think I was passionate to a lot of things that would stimulate me. But my earliest memory wasn't music, it was actually voices, tone of voices. And the first music and song that I fell in love with, well, first of all, I have bigger sisters, so I was like sneaking under their bed when they were doing the Beatles and Monkeys and those kind of bands. But I wasn't really into that. But the first melody that actually took me was an old song that was like remixed, and it's been remixed over and over again. But there was a woman singing, and the song was One Way Ticket to the Blues. And the melody is what it is, but I think her voice was that actually grabbed my heart. So that is my first really connection. I think I was around 7 years old or something. My parents, because that record went on and on and on and on and on, repeat. Yeah. So yeah.
And how does it feel to listen to that song and voice today?
I did before our conversation now because I needed to fresh up my memory. What was the name of the woman that was singing? I couldn't remember it, and so I went on YouTube and I listened to it, and it makes me smile. It makes me happy. It does, yeah.
Yeah. And you and I, we do have a lot in common, actually. The entrepreneurial spirit, we love sound, we thrive challenges and creativity and positivity. And also, we both studied at Berg School of Communication. So I want to know, what was it then in your inner motivational drive and curiosity as a girl that brought you to where you are today, becoming an entrepreneur and working with sound architecture?
I mean, it's a lot of years between when you and me went to Barry's. So, yeah, it is. But I think I when I was young, I was always like searching for something. And as older you go, you realize where your fire is and what are you looking for. I think it's more about a journey that you need to start to walk one direction, and then that wasn't the right direction, and then you find another direction. And if you're open-minded, there is opportunities along the road. And so I started first to work with economics. And there was no fire in that. So, but that experience is good for me to have during my journey, especially when I'm open up my own business and everything. So, but that wasn't my fire. And then just an opportunity put me in a position where I start to work in an advertising bureau. And suddenly I felt like I belong. So that's when I start to go to Paris and all of those kind of things. And then I went abroad, and I was working quite many years abroad in different countries. And when I came back home, I just realized that my fire is it is on the target, it is on what I want to do. But what's more important is my personal values. So for me to run my business is an opportunity to decide myself, who am I going to work with? What kind of personalities are those people that I'm going to work with, both when it comes to colleagues and customers and suppliers or whatever. And to feel free to be able to make my own decisions creates freedom in me. And when I feel free, I feel also very safe. Money hasn't been my big thing. You older you go, money gets more important because you realize there is an ending coming. So money is like, of course, money is important, but my motivation is not connected with money. It's connected to values and people, relations. Yeah.
Very interesting. Now I feel
long answer. Sorry.
No, it's the perfect. I was just gonna say that I feel more connected to you because I feel the same.
Okay.
And you've also done during your career started 3 successful companies, which have 2 been in sound design. So let's start with the Pretty Production. How do you start it, and mention a couple of success stories and learnings along the way?
Well, there's again, there is like circumstances, opportunities. I came home from my years abroad because I realized that I was like, I had one foot in 2 different places, and I had to make a choice. Like, am I going to stay abroad or am I going to go back home? And then my decision was to go back home and to start to work with advertising in Sweden again.
And what were you doing? Sorry, what were you doing abroad?
Abroad, I was working with marketing and advertising, and also building relationships with different companies when it comes to sales and marketing. So when I came home, I was like, okay, I never worked with radio. I've been working in that point. I've been working with television and other bits and pieces when it comes to advertising, but I never touched radio. So when I came home, I'd realized that, okay, if I'm going to be good at to be a creative project leader in advertising, I also need to know more about the media radio. So, and radio was quite new, and commercial radio was very new in Sweden in that time. We were second last after Albania, actually. So, yeah. So then I started to work in a radio station. And after just like a couple of weeks, I realized that I thought that radio in that time would be like dynamic, explosive. I could see like a really good newspaper, people running around busy and, to be extremely creative. But it wasn't. It was very hierarchic, which was like really sad. It was an Australian company, and but at that point, I think I was 3 months in that station. But in that point, I realized that it doesn't make sense at all. So, because if I brought in a customer, there was 2 people in there making copy to do copy for the advertising. But the voices, the salespeople or marketing people were the voices on the advertising. So I ended up standing in a studio doing recording for the big hotel chain Sheraton. I just felt like this is insane. I'm not the voice of Sheraton. They need to, and in that time there was like sound bureaus that was working with big customers like McDonald's and those huge advertising when it comes to radio. And then there was like in-house production at the stations. So there was like a market in between the one that had a good budget and the one that didn't have a budget at all. So I just thought like, what if I could, penetrate that market? I know nothing about sound technology. I know nothing about copywriting, but I know advertising, building a relationship, and finding customers. And at that station, this is a really long story, but at that station, there was a person working with as a copywriter. He was a really funny, dynamic guy. We didn't know each other very well, but his name is Ivan. So I went into him and I said, like, this sucks. I'm going to leave. I'm going to open up my own business. Do you want to join? And he said, I'm in. So that's how we started. I had a friend that had like a really old small shop in the center of Stockholm. It was like a 32 or 33 square meter. I called him up and I said like, hey, you don't use your store. Can I rent it? And he said, here is the key. So we start to build our own studio. So that's how we started in a small milk shop. It was like an old milk shop. That's where we started. And we found customers and we start to build up our brand and the company. And him and me had like a big difference of looking at having your own business. Because if you start your own business, you need to be ready to work a lot and earn zero to begin with. So what happened is that I bought him out. He stayed and had a salary. And from there, we started to do like advertising for, I think we were lucky because we found a couple of companies that were young and small. So we could build a brand through radio advertising, which gave us the market. And we started to grow quite fast. And then the rest is history.
Yeah, very interesting. You have this entrepreneur skill of finding gaps and making something out of it. And that's how you later on discovered that there was a challenge working with sound design in public environment. And with this knowledge, then you established Lexter back in 2009.
Yes.
So tell us then, what was the need in the market? What was the public spaces doing wrong or actually not doing enough?
What happened is that when I had my production company, we also start to have customers. We work a lot with Disney, for an example, and they had products that we want to bring out closer with the sound that we produced. So 2003, 2004, I wanted to bring out those products with sound. But there was like no Google in that time, and we knew how to bring it out and the sound, but we didn't know how to handle technology in store. So we started to search around that, and we couldn't figure it out. That was something that was just placed in my head, that why isn't it possible to do this? There must be some technology somewhere. But I couldn't find it, obviously. But the thoughts start to grow, and then it grow bigger and bigger, because when you start to enter a field where you think there is something, a gap or something in there, I was more aware of, how should I say, the possibilities that you could do. The possibilities was in my head, and I didn't know if the market were sharing my thoughts. So we start to do bits and pieces for some customers, where we were building this like small speakers. We put in furnitures and stuff like that. So and then 2007, 2008, I started to find the technology, and then it was like boom, it was blowing up again. So 2009, Lexter was just like a company where no employees. We were just, what should I say? We were more like trying to find out if the market wanted what we thought the market could need when it comes to both like experience, but also to create better sound environments. And in that time, and it still is, that a lot of, if you look at retail, for an example, there's still many shops and stores that are playing music in alarm speakers, which is totally insane. There's a lot of problems around that. First of all, the speakers are not made to provide good music quality. The second one is that alarm speakers are placed to alarm, not to give you a good experience. And the crew who's working in those areas might end up having a speaker above their head 8 hours a day. So there's like a lot of problems in that. So when we start to discover there is a market that no one touched except from in-store music. There's nothing else done. We just start to realize there is an enormous gap. There is a market for more companies than just my company. So then you need to find customers that would be ready to invest. So then we start to hunt customers and also educated. It's not like customers doesn't want good quality sound environment and sound design. It's a lot about knowledge, because most of the time we speak about what we visual see. We don't pay attention so much to what we hear, because we take hearing for granted a lot. It will affect us especially when we are in environments that are bad for us. We will get stressed, and we will have like a lot of things going on inside. We might even leave a shop or a store or a mall or whatever. We don't know exactly why, but we didn't enjoy to be there, and we're not going back.
Back then, how easy or challenging was it to convince the retail stores to implement this and actually let you guys go in and make a change?
I would say it was like climbing a mountain, because first of all, you need to find, if it is like a small store, it's easy to find who to talk to. But we were trying to find like bigger bones. So then you need to have meetings with a lot of people, because there is no budget for or in that time there was like no budget for sound environment,
because nobody thought about it.
No, so you needed to meet people at the marketing department. You need to meet people at the concept department, and then you need to meet people in the construction field and put them at the same table. Because when you explain that what sound can do for them, no one would say, no, I don't want this. The answer at that time would be, I would really enjoy to have what you're talking about, but there is no budget. So we needed to find different people in the same company, put them at the table, and they will together make a decision to take a bit of each budget to create a new budget. So that's how we started to work with Åhléns, for an example. It took me like 1.5 years to even get close to something that just to find the right people to get them at the same table. And then we had the opportunity to do 1,200 square meter in the way that we were telling them that this is what sound can actually do for you. So when we implemented that sound design concept in the big store in Stockholm, then our customer realized, aha, because there's something, when it's ready, when you speak about sound, it's not that interesting. You need to hear sound.
Yeah, you need to be in the experiment. You need to show it. Yeah.
And we didn't have the customers a place to go to, really. So I would say our big breakthrough was when we did the Modgalleria. Because then we had like a brave customer. We were invited early on, and then when we brought the concept to show them the concept and the price of the concept, I felt like if they would be brave enough to do half of it, it would be extremely good. And then they went all in, and it was like amazing. Because then we had the opportunity also to do all those things that was in the head. We to be honest, we never made anything like that before. So we had to, find a way working through it.
Yeah. And what I love about your title is sound architect. And because there's an architect, and everything with architecture is more like everybody thinking is the visual side of it. And now is the the opportunity to once and for all change this and improve the architecture and the balance of noise levels in spaces. And me myself, I love the word oral architecture because it says the human experience of sound in spaces. Tell us about the role of a sound architecture and its importance, and most importantly, why is that still fairly untapped opportunity in the business of architecture?
If you're going to have a good sound environment, no matter what, if you are like a shopping mall or a co-office or working or whatever it is, people are going to be in the environment. So you need to, if you work with the whole environment, the content is just one thing, the technology is another thing. Then you have to look at people's behavior. What are people doing in this space? There might be different activities going on at the same time. So first of all, you need to have a good talk with your customer about the brand, the experience, and then there's a lot of function. If you are in an office area, you need people to feel good and in harmony. But there's also a lot of function. You need to have areas where it's like quiet, and you need to have areas where it might be allowed to be a little bit more, to talk and to integrate with each other. So if you're going to work with what I'm doing, you need to be in control of people behavior, the environment itself. What is the challenge in the environment? Because there might be that you have to bring in a colleague that's working with acoustics. So the environment itself have to be tolerated to bring in sound, and people's behavior, and then good technology. And the technology need to be placed where it's supposed to be placed when it comes to the concept and the experience. And then, of course, the productions, the sound and music. So if you do just one of those bit in the cake, you're not going to have a good sound environment. You need to take every piece and combine it so you have like a holistic point of view. And then you need also to make sure that the content is going to be fresh all the time to give something for the experience.
Well, it's a living organism, right? You can't just create it once and then hope for it to fit in. And the way you're explaining it is the way I've done events for 15 years, is like you need to make sure that all elements fit. And then when you put the music, it's when the elements start dancing. You also state the right sound in the right place to the right person. Explain this for us and how important it is.
I think it is all about that, because the hearing is the only how should you say, the omni channel we have. Because you are actually, your ears are taking in sound from each side, in front of you, behind you, under, over.
360.
Everything is like spinning around, and if you are in any environment, there will be sound in there no matter what. As soon as there is humans, we are creating sound, we're talking that sound. There is like shoes or whatever we're doing on tables, there is sound all over the place. And then also environments itself has sounds, like from ventilation systems, or if you're tapping on your computer or whatever. So there is always a lot of sound going on at the same time. And we are not taking in one sound at a time. All the sound that is around is what you're actually hearing. So when you are doing sound design in any public environment, people cannot choose themselves. If you're in your own home, you can make the decision, what am I going to listen to? How am I going to listen to it? But if you are in a co-working office or a shopping mall, you don't have that opportunity if you don't go walking around with your own headphones on. Someone else is making the decision, what are you going to consume when it comes to sound. So when you bring in or taking out sound, you always have to be considerate about what is the sound of this environment before we even do anything. So that is like one thing. What is it that we want to do? What kind of order is the customer giving us? So that is that thing. And those two has to be blend together to create a good sound environment. So if I don't consider the sound that's already existing, I don't have a clue what I'm producing. Because I could, if we are in our studio, everything is going to sound good. But is it really going to sound good when it's blending into what's already existing in there?
Yeah.
So then you need to do a recording of existing sounds, or if the building is not there, because it might not be built. We do have the knowledge, so we know what it's probably going to sound like. So when you blend them two together, that's when you have the sound that actually going to penetrate people's hearing. And to create the right sound for the right person, you need also to know who is the person. Who is the person who's going to be in this environment? And it might not only be the target group, it could also be the staff. So there might be many targets group that's actually going to be in the environment. So you need to find a concept that is going to give something to everybody. And to create a good sound environment that is designed, there is also cycles. And a cycle could be like the daily cycle in morning, lunch, afternoon, evening, or it could be cycles that the customer has. So the sound content should be able to follow the cycles. And to be able to do that, you need to have technology and productions that is going to bring the right experience and feelings out for the target groups.
No, it's very interesting what you're saying, especially like in a space, there's so much things going on, but there's also a lot of furniture, for example, or things that an architect had designed, and different material observe different kind of sound. And it's like you design it with the eyes, but it's not until you walk the space afterwards, when it's filled with a crowd of people, that you start figuring out the sound. And you've done an amazing project. So let's start one by one. Let's start with the co-working spaces. I did a conference speech at an architecture conference in Mexico, where I spoke about the negative effect of open spaces, and that pre-corona, we spend majority of our lives in office spaces with lots of unbalanced noises that you're explaining, which in long term, that a lot of people actually not talking about, is it has negative effect on well-being.
Yeah.
And what we do is that we learn to just close it, but actually is affecting us negatively. And it is a correlation between office noise and stress levels. Yeah. So I'm interested for you to tell us about your sound architecture process when you're working with co-working spaces. And please share examples. For example, what is the need, the outcome, and most importantly, once you've designed it, what is the effect of your design?
But I think the first thing is that to remember that people are different. We're different as personalities, and then we can also be different. We have different needs depending on how do I feel today. So some people are always better focused when they are around a lot of sound. They don't have a problem with music going on. They might even be more happy to be in a cafe working with a little bit of noise and interaction with other people. Some people cannot focus on that at all. They need to be by themselves, should be quiet, so they can focus. So the first thing when it comes to a co-working, like an open office area, is to remember that, okay, all the people that's going to be here, they are different. So you need to create good sound environment for all the types of personalities. Because if I'm having like one task where I'm going to be like very creative, for an example, maybe I want to be in an environment with a little bit more of sound. I don't necessarily talk with other people, but I'm totally comfortable with other people talking, or there might be some sort of music going on. 4 hours later, I'm doing something else where I need to be totally focused. So in open office spaces or co-working, I would recommend to have all of it. You can build environments where you have viewing lounge areas, coffee machines, and those kind of things. You can actually allow it to be maybe with lounge music or something with sounds going on. And then if you have like a line, this is like a lot of sound, and then in the end, no sound at all. Because we as humans, we learn immediately where to find certain things, because that is how we function. Then, because if you do that, then you did one thing that I think is totally necessary. You give people an opportunity to choose, where am I going to be today? I'm going to be there, or in the middle. What is my task today? How do I feel today? If you do that, then you gave people the opportunity, and you also do something that are masking in the same time. When it comes to flex offices, where there's like a lot of people maybe working very focused, you need to put in some sort of sound masking, because otherwise people are going to hear like everything. And if you get interrupted when you're focused, it might take you up to 15 minutes to get that focus back again. So if you're interrupted 10 times a day, there is like a hell of a lot of 15 minutes going on. So you need maybe to do like both designed sounds and then masking sounds, and combine them in a nice way so people can choose. And then, of course, you need also, when you build an office like that, think about like, should I put the coffee machines nearby the quiet area? No, you should not. Because we love our coffee, and we are talking, we're having small talks around the coffee. So if there's like a person 5 meters away, it's not going to be a quiet area.
No.
So you also need to figure out where you're going to place certain things, because I think it's sad when you come into open office area and you see people working with the headphones on, they have noise cancelling on, or they play some music. I think the whole point of open offices are gone, because an open office area is a lot about us integrating with each other. So yeah.
Can you give us an example of a client that you've worked with?
Yeah, we've been doing 2 big offices, one in Gothenburg and a huge one that we launched now in December for Vasakronan. And Vasakronan has in Stockholm, it's called Arena Serial, which is 4 levels. So I think in total it's 22,000 square meter. And the top floor is Vasakronan's headquarters, and the 3 other floors are co-working. And so what we brought in there is a lot of sounds. In open areas where people are allowed to integrate, we have music. We have special surprise sounds when you go to the bathroom, because that is also a thing that offices today have bathroom in the working space, which means that you just leave your chair and you go maybe 2-3 meters to the bathroom, and there is like not really good privacy in there. So if you bring in sound, you create the privacy for people to actually be private when they go to the bathroom. So we have like different bathrooms with one is playing discos, one is playing tropical sound, and so on. And then we built in, they have open fireplates in not in every level, but I think in 2 or 3 levels, where we put in locally sounds from an open fire, because of course the open fires to have are not like really.
They're not functional. They're just there for the visual, and
yeah,
then
but they are like,
the
and when you put and when you bring the sound into that, you can actually feel that you're getting warmer.
Yeah,
because that is also psychology.
Yeah,
and then we have a lot of transportation sounds in open areas. We have, well, there's a lot of playful sounds, but it's also a lot of function sounds. So there is soundscaping, there is sound masking, and there is sound design, and we have to bring it in together. So you shouldn't feel like, okay, I'm in a lot of sound now. Oh God, I'm in no sound at all. It has to be seamless. And good in that environment. I think good quality sound design is when it's a part of everything. The sound is visual, is going hand in hand with the visual and the concept and the brand. And you shouldn't think so much about it. But if you enter one morning or anytime on the day and the sound is out, you should feel immediately there's something is missing. So you should, in one way, good quality sound design and sound environment, you should take it for granted. You should think about it.
Well, they do say that a great sound, or when it's integrated so well with the visual, that you actually don't realize it.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you're spot on.
Then you're spot on. Yeah. And talking about the toilet, I had an experience when I was at a Russian restaurant that was behind bars. That when you went to the toilet, it was teaching you Russian. And I was pretty young. I think I was 21. And I'm like, okay, but I'm not interested in learn Russian, but it's so boring to go to the toilet. So it became a fun thing of going back to the table and like, oh, I learned these 2 words, and it becomes a conversation.
Was that maybe in United Spaces?
Could have been, or the KBG or something. That was this restaurant in the corner.
Okay.
Up there, and then I figured out, wow, it's just like a space that people forget about, that you can create amazing stuff.
Yeah, and you just in that point you're giving someone something funny
Yeah.
and something that you actually quite many years after still remember and talking about.
Yeah, now when I lived in Barcelona, I was at a club, and then when you go into the bathroom, there was a woman DJ there, and I
Lovely.
never forget about it.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah.
So
No,
those,
because with sound, yeah, I think even in an open office area, you could have playful things going on, but you need to have them quite focused on just a small area then. So in Stockholm for Vasakronan, they have like a big tassel. It's like an oversized tassel that is in an area where people are getting together, and also an area if they want to have like after work or a speech or something. It's like a really big, nice lounge area. We brought in this huge tassel. So if you want to have people's attention, you pull the tassel and there is like a sound. It's not only one, there's like we're shuffling the sound, so you never know exactly what sound is coming. And it's just like a funny thing that make people go like, yeah, to have a good laugh and like, why is that tassel there? Yeah, why not?
well, it brings the experience, right? It's like almost bringing the gaming, and brands can use it to create memorable experiences in their spaces.
Yeah.
Now I'm interested to know, with the new now, with the effect of the pandemic, when people are mostly working from home, how will offices be shaped in the future, and how can sound design help to improve this new environment?
I think that when we are going back to whatever the new normal is, I think there's going to be a huge market for co-working and open offices. I think it's gonna I think it's gonna increase. And in that point, I also think it's extremely important that the owner of the office uh, taking care of not only the sound environment, the environment in total. People don't want to be behind big screens, like hiding. Um, we, I think we want to meet again. You know what I mean? We've been in our own corners, working from home or whatever. We are longing to integrate, uh, to see each other, to have those sort of meetings going on again. So in that point, I think to take care of your sound environment is going to be even more important. And I think to have um, to have the function that people can choose, like, do I want to be in a busy area, or do I want to be in a quiet area, or in between, is going to be necessary. So we will meet. We will start to integrate with each other, but we still have to work. We still have to function. So I think it is important then, if I'm coming in the morning and I want to integrate with other people, would be a social area for me to do that, where I'm allowed to talk and there is sound going on. And then when I'm done with that, I might stay there to work, or maybe I need to have that sort of a focus, but then I could go away to another area where I have the sound masking function. I can focus. And with sound masking, I don't mean white noise. I mean good, for us humans, sound masking.
Yeah, yeah.
Which will be combined to the nature in somehow.
Yeah, as you say, if you want people to stay longer, it's also important to create that environment. And a lot of places, when they're not working with the sound design, it actually does the opposite. It like drags a lot of energy out of you. And you find that you haven't done proper work. Another architecture design area that is important is the privacy and a comfortable waiting experience when visiting a bank office. You work with one of Sweden's biggest banks, where you especially work with what you're saying, sound masking. Tell us about that experience.
Well, when it comes to not only banks, but a lot of public spaces, what we see today is that they start to get modern design, which means they are all like open, like big lounges. And we do the old-fashioned way. If we went to the bank, you would take your number and you will wait, and then you would have like your own space with the bank person. It's not like that today, because everybody is in the same room, which means that everybody can hear everything. So the bank we're working with is Swedbank. So what we're doing for them is that when you're coming into any bank, no matter if it's small or large, there will always be the bank people. You will always have some sort of a number, and there is dedicated waiting areas where there is like magazines or coffee machine and sofas and so on. So what we're doing there is that we're building special sound roofs that we are putting above the waiting areas. And we do it with something that's called directional speakers. And directional speaker is a technology that we can actually calculate the spreading of the sound. So if the area where people are going to be waiting is, let's say, 20 square meters or 40 square meters, then we know that also from the floor to the ceiling, we know how much it's going to be, the sound is going to be spread. So we're building, with the technology, we're building these unique roofs, and then we producing sound that would be take care of. It is like if you're standing talking with the bank person, and I'm like 3-4 meters away from you in this area, if there's no sound going on, I will be able to hear your personal number, your account number, and what your problems or your issues are, or whatever you're going to get solved. But when I'm under the sound roof, I can hear your mumbling, but I cannot hear, when it comes to understanding word, the consonants is what makes us understand the word. So we are actually tuning out the consonants. So I can hear your mumbling if I'm focused on that, but I cannot understand what you're talking about. So the sound that we produced is also branded, because this bank has like an old oak tree as a visual logo. So the bank have like oaks and other green things in the environment. So in the sound, we're also putting in nature sound and ambient music, which means that it's also very relaxing. People are stressing down, and you don't pay attention at all at the mumbling. Wow. And if you would do, you wouldn't understand the conversation.
Wow, it feels like with the sound you're bringing the brand alive. I love that experience. I could even feel it without hearing the sound.
Good. I think it's if it is a bank or an office space or shopping mall or whatever, there's always a brand behind, and the brand should be a part of the sound, even if it's like in a small way. It should always be there, because if you go to one bank offices and you go to another one in another town or in the same city, you would recognize yourself.
Yeah, and the feeling also, because if you see the visual logo of that bank, and you've had that experience of calm and wood and so on, once you're looking at the image, that is the power of sound, that it evokes that amazing emotions back to you, and you feel a comfort. I absolutely love that. And
because I think it's important to also, if you work with sound, you could always, with the right sound, you could always make people think and feel that a room are bigger than it is, or smaller, and cleaner, or whatever. So you could actually, if you work with sound in the right way, I would say it's a little bit of a Harry Potter thing going on there, if you know what you're doing.
Yes, magic.
Actually, you could actually paint things with sound.
Yeah. As I said, like you can make the paintings or the elements in a room come alive.
Yeah.
They are sitting where they are, but that's the thing with our emotions, our imagination, like becomes alive.
Yeah, and the sound effects all the time. I mean, we are surrounded with sounds that we just take it for granted, you know, when your phone is ringing or a push signal that's telling you got an email or whatever. There is like so much communication going around all the time with sound that we never really talk about it, or we just take it for granted. It is what it is. Even if you're crossing a street, you know, you don't have to see if it's a red or green light. You could actually follow the sound if you're allowed to walk or not. But then you should look anyway, because there might be a car coming. But there's something else. So sound is something that is taking care of us all the time.
Wow, wow. I'm so intrigued at what can come more. And talking about shopping malls, in 2012, the shopping mall Mood Stockholm opened its doors. And you guys were given the honor to do the sound architect, which has become one of the Europe's largest sound design concept with like 22 different sound zones, about 100 unique sound productions. And as you mentioned before, that in this project, you were actually in the beginning of the development and be able to create a holistic approach. Walk us through this process and the challenges you faced. And I'm also interested to know which sound development were you most proud of?
When it comes to Mood Stockholm, I think I said before, like we have like a really brave customer, because the whole idea of Mood Stockholm from the beginning was that they wanted to create something that wasn't existing. Which I think they did, because that was the first mall with all the open restaurants in the shopping, and you've been to Mood Stockholm, so you know what it looks like. Yeah. So we had the project when it was only like a big hole of concrete. So we had, of course, to study all the drawings and to see where is everything going to be. The mall was also integrated in different how to say, different target groups in one way. So one of the first I would say 2 entrance and half of the first upper level was called Notting Hill. And then from Notting Hill, you went into something called Desire. And then you went from Desire into something called Everyday. And Everyday was about everyday shopping. Desire was stores that was more to Desire, actually. And the Notting Hill was more like casual clothing and those kind of things. And then you had all of those restaurants inside and outside. And you also had a lot of artwork. On the outside, you have 3 huge artwork, and on the inside, you have 2 artworks. So we had to take care of the sound environment and the design to be combined, of course, with the brand and with the visuals, and also to make it seamless between those different areas. We wanted Notting Hill to be a little bit more flowering. We wanted Desire to feel more desirable. And we wanted Everyday to be more electronic when it comes to the sound, which they still are. So we made special productions and technology for the different artworks where we were working with the artist of that artwork. So they are very different and very unique. And then on the inside, we wanted to have the feeling together with the concept changing depending on where you were in the building. And then bathrooms, and there's like, and the outside garden, there was like a huge concept. So, but then we need also you need in yourself, you need to feel that you are in mood. So we need to find elements that would be something that we could implement everywhere. So we have like a special singing bird that is no matter where you are, she's singing. We have electronical sound that is also no matter where you are, together with the singing bird, and some other ambient sounds. So we are producing it in layers, so to speak. So there's one sound that is everywhere in the building, up and under and everywhere. And on top of that, we're putting in the layer of content that is unique for the zone you are in, or the zone you're going to enter. And you also need to put the technology in the right way, so it's not going to be bumpy. You just have to be seamless and floating around. And when it comes to the artworks, you want people to feel the sound of the artwork in the same time as they're looking at the art. But we don't want it to blend in too much. So you need to find technology and sound that would be able to stay in the area where you want it to be. And when it comes to Mood Stockholm, one of the things is that the owner of Mood Stockholm wants you to feel very much at home, but also that you are, even though you're inside, they want you to feel like you're actually part-time outside. So there was a lot of things to pull together. And then, of course, when you put technology up, you have to be careful. You don't want to play Mood Stockholm's content into the store. So you need to figure out where should we place the technology to get the right walking for the customer, and without interfering with other brands. So yeah.
And which sound production would you say that you remember the most, or that you're most proud of?
Wow. I can't say, because I would say that Mood Stockholm was for me, and the things that I had in my head for so many years, to find this customer that had the braveness to actually say, we believe in you and your team. We want not to do bits and pieces. We want to have it all. I would say that Mood Stockholm would always have like a special place in my heart, because without Mood Stockholm, I'm not 100% sure that we would have the opportunity to run and continuing as we did after that, because it became like for us a huge success. We also added scent into the sound design. So we had like special areas where we put unique scent in for the brand. So I would say, I'm in a personal level, I also enjoy to be at Mood Stockholm, because I like it. I do. Maybe that is like, oh, but I do. I think it's great.
And now, 9 years later, how has it been? Like, what has the effect been? Have you been able to capture that?
It's difficult to measure, because if you're going to measure the impact of the sound, you need actually to take the sound away and to ask people how they feel about it, and then you put the sound on again. And because what we do is like, it's designed sound, so it's not sound giving traffic to a product, because that is much easier.
Yeah.
Because then you can measure how much more are you selling of the product. You can measure time. And during the corona now, not only in Mood Stockholm, we can see for all the customers we have, especially in retail, that the sound is so important. Because if you enter a shopping mall or Åhléns or any store and there is no sound on, you're not going to feel very happy. You're going to be quite mellow and low. The sound is giving you the opportunity to feel that there's something going on. It's stimulating you. So if we're taking the sound away from Mood Stockholm, there would be a lot of the brand falling apart inside.
Wow.
Yeah. And our customer knows that 100%, because they still have feedback about the sound. there's still today, 9 years later, even if we maintain the sound, the brand was what it was in that time. Today the brand is something else. And good sound design is following the brand. So of course we've been changing the audio branding and other bits. The bird is still there, the electronic sound is still there, but when it comes to the sort of music might have changed during the year. So to maintain is also important, so you keep your sound environment fresh and in this case quite urban.
Yeah. Well, you as you said with the birds, there's something that will be an element that people will connect with Mood Stockholm. And also the audio branding. If you create a DNA, which means that there's certain sound or certain ways you want people to feel in that, then you need to change the music so it doesn't become repetitive. And also during 9 years, there's so much else happening, campaigns, people, new things coming in, new colors going. And then the sound has to be developed on that. Yeah, what amazing.
But when you have like a concept like Mood Stockholm, of course they are changing the inside when it comes to Christmas or spring or whatever. There is like decoration coming up. And then the sound concept should be able to follow.
Yes.
To have like elements from winter and Santa Claus, whatever is going on. What I think is interesting with Sound Stockholm is that customer are still contacting our customer, which is AMF, because they want to buy certain sounds. Where can I buy them? I think that is a good,
interesting,
a little bit of story in the heaven, that people want to bring the sound home, and we will never sell the sound because
it
is Mood Stockholm. No.
I was going to say that
the customer asked us, can we do, and we go like, I don't think you should, because it is unique for Mood Stockholm.
Interesting, because I've heard some people say that brands should start thinking about that the sound they're creating unique for themselves, they can trademark it and start earning money, revenue through that. If people want to bring the experience with them home to connect even deeper with the brand.
Yeah, which I would agree on if it is like a store chain or something. Let's say Hollister, for an example. Yeah, of course. If there is you could always, like a store chain like Åhléns, there, whatever we're playing there could be open, for people to just go on Spotify or whatever. But I think when it comes to a shopping mall, it's one shopping mall that has like a unique statement. I don't think you should bring that too far away.
Understand.
Because the shopping mall is there for the stores.
So now let's talk about one of your projects that I'm totally blown away by, because you guys don't just design sound for public spaces and brands. You also work with your own innovational projects, and Impossible Run is one of them, where you experiment provided the accuracy of hyperdirectional sound technology. Walk us through this experiment, especially where did you come up with such a brilliant and life-changing idea using sound?
It is a very long story. I'm going to try to keep it shorter.
Yes.
But the thing is that we had a phone call from an organization that is working with people that can't see at all or just can see very, very little. It's called Synskadades Riksförbund. But we had a phone call from a guy, and they're going to have like a big event where they're inviting people from the whole country in Sweden. And most of them they're totally blind, most of them. And he was curious if there was possible to guide people with sound. So if we can have like a unique sound telling this target group that if you follow this sound, it would take you to the restaurant. If you're following this sound, it would take you to the conference. And So we said like, well, yeah, we let's give it a try because we do have the technology. Uh, but we said like, let's have a meeting. And when he called me and I spoke with this man, his name is Leif. His conversation was like he was totally seeing, because he said like my wife that can't see at all. And then I thought that, okay, his wife cannot see at all, but obviously he can. So we invited this group to our office, and we prepared like normal, we had like cases on the screen, we prepared the showroom, we had like coffee and fruit and cake and blah blah blah. And then we saw the taxi coming, and out of the taxi there is 4 people coming with blind stickers. So we realized we are now having we're going to have a customer meeting with 4 people that can't see at all. So put the screens down, you know what I mean? Like, how are we going to handle this meeting? So they enter our office, and we really felt stupid because we didn't really know how to handle the situation. So I said to this Leif, like, this is the first time we have a meeting with blind guests. So you need to help us, so you will have whatever you need from this meeting. So we had like a brilliant meeting. We had so much fun. But that meeting gave us an understanding of like, if you can see and you put the blindfolder on, it's not the same thing at all, because I know what the room looks like. A person who can't see at all doesn't have a clue how big is the room, where is the furniture. They have they can, with, because they're sensitive, they might feel how many people that are in the room, but they don't know if there's like another door, is there windows, what is, so we start to realize like we have knowledge, we have stuff that other people could use, and it would make a big difference for them. So we made this event, and we managed to do the sounds with directional speakers for people to navigate. And that gave us like, what else can we do with this? So we started to talk with some other people, and then we had an opportunity to speak with a bureau called Macan. And so we started to do a casting. We spoke with these people on Synskadades Riksförbund, if we can do some sort of, if they had people that want to be involved in a project. We didn't first of all realize what kind of project should we do. So we start to read more and more and more about what is it if you can't see at all. How do you become like an Olympic athlete if you can't see? How is that even possible? So then we found out that if you are running, you're always running with someone, you're combined to someone else that can see. And if that person, if you're better than that person, you're not going to be as good as your potential.
Yeah.
And if that person is going to snubble or something and fall, then you're not going to be, you're not going to enter the race. So and if that person is going to not going to show up for your training. So there's like, we go like, this is crazy. This is insane. This is like old fashioned. Why is this? And then we start to look like on other sports where a person can see is screaming to the blind person, 100 meters, 75, 50, 25, jump. You go like, is this how it's insane. What if that person is like just looking a little bit like this half a second? So then we figure out it's a lot of blind people get a lot of injury. They can't train with full potential. So that was like, gave us just something like, can we do something? Because you can navigate with sound. Can this group do this? So that's how it started. It was something that was boiling in me and a couple of my colleagues' head. And then we start to do bits and pieces in the office where we were walking around with blindfolded. And then we start to realize like, we need to have a blind person involved. So we went out on Facebook and we found Oscar, And then we had Macan that was like helping us to communicate about this, because we wanted to do something that we would not earn money on, that we could give away to someone that could actually take it and do something good with it. So the Impossible Run took us 2 years behind the scenes to do with different technology, with training with Oscar, finding locations where we can build up the technology, and the rest is history. So when we realized it is working, because it was really exciting to see, like, every time we're going to do the experiment with Oscar, he was combined to the person he was training with, to warm up. And then that person put him, with where the speakers are. And then he was by himself, and he was running 60 meters straight on with the help of the sound. So we wanted, to find someone that could actually take this project to fly. And we had the opportunity to be in Channel 4 in the morning. And the only thing that we said, like, we have to say that we want to get in contact with Parasport, with the organization Parasport. And we did. We managed to get it out, and they called us, and they knew about the project. So now we are continue working with the project together with Parasport, and also we got foundation, or not we, Parasport got foundation from Vinnova. So now we are training with the real elites of blind athletes. So it's fantastic.
Wow, I'm getting goosebumps, because I'm feeling like this, sound has such a magical power of doing good, and
that is really the power of sound.
Helpful, and it's so inspiring. Well done on that.
Thank you.
But you guys then also, like, talking about technology, you develop your own, like, systems, and you have a digital platform that you develop called Twang. What is it about your technologies that they're solving in the market that was lacking?
When we did Mood 2012, well, it went live 2012, but we actually started to do Mood already on drawings 2010. I thought there would be like you have, when it comes to how you privately consume music, there's a lot of good platforms and softwares for that. So I thought, like, there must be, of course, for the on the professional side as well. So we start, to hunt for that kind of software. And there was no software for what we wanted to do. We wanted a software to be able to schedule, of course, time, day, year. We wanted the software to be able to bring out different content on different scheduling with different volumes. We also wanted the software to be able to bring out different layer of sound. And we also wanted the software to, if you want to put out like some sort of a message, that you could actually do it on exact time. And then we wanted the software to tell us if it wasn't playing, and also for the customer to have some sort of remote. So the software should, if we're telling that, like, this sound is going to start 6 o'clock in the morning on the volume, blah, 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 with this content. 8 o'clock, you're going to change content to this content. You're going to play it between 8 and 9. 9 o'clock, you're going to change content again, and you're going to put the volume up. 2 o'clock, you're going to take the volume down. 4 o'clock, you're going to change content, put the volume down or up or whatever. And let's say 9 o'clock in the evening, you should just tell people, like, thank you for visiting, see you tomorrow, and goodbye. And then it's going to close down. There was no software like that. So we had to figure out how are we gonna bring out the concepts, the sound design concepts we want to do. It's not going to be possible if we cannot do this. We need a software, because otherwise it's just going to be a playlist. it's just going to be a volume. And the customer have then to go somewhere in their phone or somewhere to put the volume up or down or whatever. It doesn't make sense.
No.
So then we found people that was helping us building it, and now we are launching a new one I think it's going to be launched in March, April, where we actually developed even more. We've been developing new things all the time, of course, but now we're changing the platform and the software totally. Yeah.
Oh wow, I can't wait to see more of it. And when you talk about sound and music, then I'm interested to understand how much of it do you produce in-house, or how much of it do you like source?
We do both. I think if you're going to have like a store chain like Åhléns or Mood Stockholm, there's no way that you can produce all the content yourself, because it's not going to be very good content in the end. I mean, if you're going to create like a good music, a good song, first of all, you need to be not even the most successful songwriters are making quality hits all the time. So to have really good quality music, you need to buy good quality music. So we buy a lot of music, of course, because we have a professional license, so we can buy any music we want, and we do. And then we produce also, of course, if you do audio branding, that is totally 100% composed by us. And if you do unique sound productions, and of course sound layering and nature sounds, all of that we are producing. But when it comes to music, if you want to have good quality music, you should be able to buy everything that really good people already created.
And looking into your career of decade of doing what you are doing, what would you say is the most challenging part versus the most like easy part of working in sound architecture?
When interior designer are doing what they're good at, and architects are doing what they're good at, or whoever is involved, to have like, I think it's about communication, for people. And when every field are doing what they are best of, and you talk with each other, and you are in the same team, so to speak, that's when you bring out good quality result. So I think it's the best actually when the customer is trusting you and the interior designers and other people to have that feel together. Because when it comes, for one example, if you look at Vasakronan in Stockholm and even in Gothenburg, the interior designers were really open-minded and really enjoying working with us. So we could also help them in certain field where we said like, "Ooh, hey, listen, that is not going to be very good in that position because the sound is going to bump and you're going to have like a problem with it." So communication, I would say, and let people do what they're good at, trust other people, and share knowledge.
And the teamwork of inviting sound in that environment.
Yeah.
And letting it do what it's best at. And
yes.
Well, your new role as at Efterklang, what will you do going forward to change this industry, and what future projects are coming?
I think now when we are a part of Efterklang, it's brilliant because Efterklang has people who's working with sound and vibration and acoustics, a lot of engineering, and we are coming from the design field, which means that a customer, instead of like maybe go to 3 different places to buy 3 different competence, they could actually just turn themselves to Efterklang, and we will help them with the whole process, which means that when acoustics are starting, maybe it's going to be building acoustics, a lot of customers will think it's too early to even speak about sound design, but it's not. Because if you start to have that communication very early, you are saving money, and you're also getting a very much better result when it comes to both acoustics and the sound design, because they are actually good. Sound design are really, really good when the acoustics and the sound and vibration are function. So it's like putting two hands together. So what is coming up now, interesting cases, is I can't really give you the customers, but there is a big office going on, for an example. We only been integrated since January, so we're still in January, so it's quite early. But there is one project in Denmark's coming up, one in south of Sweden, and some other bits and pieces. Yeah.
And the last question would be, what practices would you want to say to brands out there to start implementing sound architecture in their process?
I would say, first of all, create a budget. Make sure you have a budget that would take care of, call it sound environment. It doesn't have to be sound design. It could be take care of like the acoustic part, or make yourself, to have good quality audio branding, or all of it. But take some money dedicated for sound environment, or sound, whatever you want to call it. Call it sound. That is something that I think would be helpful. And also the second one is that you're always welcome as a customer to Efterklang, but you could make sure that you have someone helping you that are professional in the field. Because when it comes to sound, a lot of people have opinions, of course, because sound normally brings us away to music immediately. And every person has their own opinion about what is good music or bad music or whatever. But when it comes to sound design, it's not only music. Music is a bit of it, might be, not necessary, but most of the time it's involved. So then you need to have a partner that could help you with the behavior field and function, and the audio branding and the technology and the acoustics. So you will have the holistic thing. And I think that is necessary even if you are in the digital field. You might not even have an open office or any environment at all. Your environment might be digital. I think it's important even there, because if you look at the platforms today, like where the platform we are on now, or any platform, when it comes to sound, the quality is like, I would say, well,
not the best.
And people today have like good, headphones and good quality devices and those kind of things. So if your brand allowed sound, make sure that you will have it in the right way, because that is something that people, I think, in the future would take for granted. Yeah.
And maybe some brands like Mood Stockholm, be brave, open up, do more experience, welcome sound, and see what kind of fun gaming experience you can create for the customers.
And if you don't have the budget, or you don't want to do it like 100% all in, you could always start with something, and start with a small thing and grow from there. Because I think when you start to work as a customer and brand with sound, if it's rightly done, then I never met a customer that did something small that didn't continue growing with it. So play around, try it out, and
Thank you very much, Margareta. It's been a pleasure talking to you and learning about your experiences.
Thank you. My pleasure. I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day then.
Well, that's all for today's episode of The Power of Audio, Science and AI. I'm Jasmine Marathi, your host, and thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and support by sharing this content on your social media. This episode is supported by Stockholm Music City.